Who hasn't seen The Benny Hill Show before? A cultural landmark of the 1960s, this legendary comedy series was praised for its exuberant slapstick humor. With Benny Hill's unending passion at its core, the program swiftly gained a loyal fan base, entertaining viewers everywhere and leaving them excited for the next episode. However, the show's contentious depiction of women drew criticism as social mores changed. Which particular scenes provoked this criticism? We'll explore the behind-the-scenes information that finally resulted in The Benny Hill Show being removed from the air in this video. But first, let's go back to Benny Hill's beginnings and the early years of his groundbreaking show before we unearth these crucial moments. Early years. Alfred Hawthorne Hill, well known as Benny Hill, was born in Southampton, Hampshire, on January 21, 1924. There is some disagreement, though, as other sources state that he was born in 1925. Benny's family had a penchant for entertainment. Although his grandparents and father had a history with circus clowns, his father, Alfred Hill, owned a surgical appliance store. Helen Nay Cave, his mother, infused the dynamics of the household with her own unique flavor. Following his stint at Southampton's Taunton School, Benny worked at a number of different businesses. Before getting hired as an assistant stage manager for a touring revue, he worked at Woolworths, delivered milk, ran bridges, drove cars, and even played the drums. Benny responded to the call of war in 1942 by enlisting in the British Army. After completing his training as a mechanic with the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, he was assigned to Normandy in September 1944 and worked as a mechanic, truck driver, and searchlight operator. Before the end of the war, he later moved to the Combined Services Entertainment Division. Hill pursued a career in show business after his love of comedy was ignited by the famous comedians of British music halls. In honor of his comic hero, Jack Benny, he adopted the moniker Benny. Benny Hill began making waves on radio after World War II. On October 5, 1947, when he made his debut on Variety Bandbox. Soon after, television was introduced, and Benny debuted on a small screen in 1950. Went on to star in the 1962 to 1963 anthology sitcom Benny Hill, where he demonstrated his flexibility by portraying a different character in each episode. There was more to his talent than that. He played Nick Bottom in the 1964 television movie adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. Additionally, Benny was the host of the radio program Benny Hill Time, which ran for 3 seasons from 1964 to 1966 on BBC Radio's Light program. From Moscow with Love, a parody of James Bond and his distinct take on the Beatles, was one of the show's humorous and satirical episodes. Hill played a variety of parts in the show, like Fred Scuttle and Harry Hill. What caused the show's last curtain call, though, and how did Benny make the switch to the famous Benny Hill Show? To get the whole tale, stay tuned. Career adventures. Benny Hill had 5 feature film appearances over his illustrious career. The Italian Job, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Those Magnificent Men and Their Flying Machines, Who Done It, and Light Up the Sky. He produced 2 short films as well. Eddie and August Durr, the latter for television, and The Waiters. A collection of his early Thames television work, The Best of Benny Hill, was released in theaters in 1974. With songs like Harvest of Love from 1963 and Gather in the Mushrooms, Peep's Diary, and Transistor Radio from 1961, Hill's audio recordings were also well liked. Ernie was his biggest hit. The Quickest Milkman in the West won an Ivor Novello Award in 1972 after becoming the UK's Christmas number 1 in 1971. Celebrities like Adam Carolla, who appreciated Hill's work and honored him on The Man Show, and Johnny Carson, who frequently welcomed him to The Tonight Show, were among Benny Hill's many admirers. Another fan was Michael Jackson, who once told a British reviewer, "I just love your Benny Hill. He's hilarious." Played a clumsy security guard in the 1987 Genesis music video for Anything She Does as Fred Scuttle. Snoop Dogg, a rapper, even called himself a fan in an interview with The Observer in 2011. Burt Reynolds, Michael Caine, and Walter Cronkite were among the celebrities who praised Hill's comic ability in the omnibus episode Benny Hill, Clown Imperial. In a 1990 review of Hill's biography, Saucy Boy, novelist Anthony Burgess, who loved Hill's wit and humor, hailed him as a comic genius immersed in the British music hall tradition and compared him to such greats as Charlie Chaplin and Stan Laurel. The Benny Hill Show captivated millions of viewers worldwide in the early 1970s and rose to become one of the most watched shows in the UK. The show, which is well known for its distinctive characters and famous sketches, cemented its position in television history by deftly fusing physical comedy with witty humor. Star Benny Hill led the series, which debuted on the BBC in 1955 and featured a variety of musical performances and brief comedies. The program moved to Thames Television in 1969 after staying on the BBC until 1968. The Benny Hill Show was incredibly successful due to its use of slapstick, mime, satire, and double entendres. When it peaked in 1971, it had over 21 million viewers, making it one of the most popular shows in the UK. Benny Hill was nominated for Best Entertainment Performance and won a BAFTA Television Award for Best Writer in 1972. The popularity of the show spread across the Atlantic, as it amassed a sizable fan base in the US in the late 1970s and remained in syndication until 1991. In 1980 and 1981, it was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Variety, and in 1984, it received the coveted Rose d'Or. However, dwindling viewership and skyrocketing production costs, which had risen to $450,000 each episode, or almost $1.4 million in 2023, led television to terminate the show in 1989. The influence of the show persisted even after it was cancelled. The Sound of ITV, the country's favorite theme tune, was chosen as the top theme song in a 2015 UK survey. The Benny Hill Show is still a cherished and recognizable series in entertainment history because of Benny Hill's inventive and occasionally contentious humorous style, which made a lasting impression on television comedy. The Benny Hill Show's distinctive format and engaging storylines enthralled viewers. Benny Hill appeared in a number of brief comedic sketches on the show, which were sometimes intercut with lavish musical numbers by modern performers. Hill demonstrated his versatility by playing a range of characters in a variety of costumes. Hill defended his writing in the face of criticism for perceived misogyny and objectification of women, claiming that the female characters retained their dignity and the males who pursued them were shown to be idiots. Fast motion sequences and visual gags that Hill referred to as live animation were part of the show's unique aesthetic. Comedy devices such as satire and mime were commonplace. The episodes frequently ended with a fast-paced chase scene in which Hill was being chased, typically by ladies in skimpy attire, because of situations he had created. In homage to the iconic Keystone Cops pursuit scenes, the upbeat song Yakety Sax was always played during these chases, heightening the humorous effect. Additionally, Hill demonstrated his musical abilities by writing and singing structured tunes, frequently delivering lengthy, fast-paced double entendre rhymes and melodies in a single take. His distinct comedic approach established The Benny Hill Show as a mainstay of British television and left a lasting impression on the comedy industry. Hill was an expert at producing humorous illusions with television cameras. His 1976 parody of Murder on the Orient Express, Murder on the Oregon Express, is a perfect example. He created a TV mystery with deft editing, a camera, and accurate impersonations. Played the parts of well-known Hercule Poirot and other American investigators from the 1970s, like Ironside, McCloud, Kojak, and Cannon. Hill was well known for his accurate parodies and impersonations of several American icons during his TV career, including W.C. Raymond Burr, Kenny Rogers, Marlon Brando, Orson Welles, and Fields. He also made fun of imaginary characters from popular TV shows, like the A-Team, whom he brilliantly recast as the B-Team, and the $6 Million Man, Starsky, and Hutch. Hill played both Hannibal and B.A. He demonstrated his broad range of comedic skills by even portraying characters from Cagney and Lacey. Extremes on the Benny Hill Show. Benny Hill did not just make fun of American superstars. He also played a number of British idols and worldwide celebrities. He portrayed South African artist Miriam Makeba and Greek singer Nana Muscuri, as well as British personalities Shirley Bassey, Michael Caine, and newscasters Cliff Michaelmore, Alan Wicker, and Reginald Bosinki. He even imitated musicians Roger Whittaker, his former record producer Tony Hatch, and pop music broadcasters Jimmy Savile and Tony Blackburn. Irish comedian Dave Allen, as well as politicians Lord Boothby and Dennis Healey. Hill occasionally played Nicholas Parsons, his old straight man, and he hilariously played both Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton in a parody of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. James Q. Spider Rich and Boots Randolph wrote the show's trademark theme, Yakety Sax, which went on to become a landmark in and of itself. From 1969 until 1974, session singers the Ladybirds, who often appeared on camera, provided vocal backing for pianist and director Ronnie Aldrich, who headed the musical direction. In the 1973 to 1974 season, Albert Elms filled in as musical director for a few episodes, and Peter Hughes played the saxophone solo on Aldrich's rendition of Yakety Sax. In the November 1969 episode, which also served as the show's Thames television premiere, Yakety Sax made its first appearance. The show's enthusiastic announcer's opening was another distinguishing feature. "It's the Benny Hill Show, indeed." Henry McGee, a cast member, frequently delivered this. Beginning in 1975, Hill was presented as the young man himself at the start of every performance. Typically, the program ends with Hill's well-known farewell. "We appreciate you all being here and hope to see you all again soon. Till then." Henry McGee, John Keefe, Ken Said, Nicholas Parsons, Bob Todd, and Jackie Wright were among the principal supporting cast members. Regular sexpot women including Jenny Lee Wright, Sue Bond, Bettina LeBeau, Leslie Goldie, Cherry Gillum, and Diana Darby were also well known on the show. The Love Machine was temporarily preceded by the dancing group Hill's Angels in later years. Sue Upton and Louise English were regular members of Hill's Angels, and Jane Leaves made a few performances in the early 1980s. Sue McIntosh and Susan Clark were two other prominent one-time guests. Regulars on the show included the Ladybirds, a female singing group that featured Maggie Streeter as its bespectacled member. They occasionally sang solo pieces and provided Hill with background vocals. Character performers such as Patricia Hayes, Helen Horton, Rita Webb, Bella Limburg, and Anna Dawson all left their imprint on the program. With a career like Benny Hill's, his success was undoubtedly fueled by something unique. What might it be? To find out, keep watching. Benny Hill's secret private life. Despite his tremendous celebrity, Benny Hill never got married or had kids, and it's still unclear why. Although the specifics were kept confidential, two women, including actress Annette Andre in the early 1960s, have publicly acknowledged that they rejected his romantic approaches. Hill talked about his difficulties finding a girlfriend in a Daily Mirror interview with Jane Dexter. He likened his predicament to working at a chocolate factory, where it was difficult to choose just one option due to the large amount of options. Hill said that he liked women that were sensible. Someone with a simple job, such as a store assistant, factory worker, or office worker, would be ideal. His romance with dancer Doris Deal was the closest he ever got to marriage, but it ended when she said she wasn't prepared for such a commitment. Despite these romantic disappointments, Hill was the target of rumors that questioned his sexual orientation, which he vehemently rejected. He continued to be intensely committed to his career in spite of these personal difficulties, frequently putting in long hours honing comic routines and screenplays. Hill had a very modest life despite his tremendous riches, driven by his perfectionism to constantly strive for excellence. He rented a double-room apartment on Queen's Gate in London for 26 years before relocating to Fairways House in Teddington in 1986. His choice for a modest, uncomplicated life was mirrored in his decision to keep renting rather than purchasing a house. The modest lifestyle of Benny Hill's parents impacted his upbringing and had a significant impact on his decisions in later life. He eschewed luxury by renting rather than buying, eating cheap food from the grocery store, and walking rather than hailing a cab. He adopted a simple lifestyle and never possessed an automobile, even though he had a driver's license. His clothes also reflected this simplicity. He had a reputation for patching up rather than buying new garments. The Benny Hill Show's enormous popularity was largely due to Hill's skill as a comic and his painstaking attention to detail. Despite being perceived by friends and co-workers as an introvert, Hill flourished in the spotlight, fusing his comedy with a strong love of music. He was an accomplished saxophonist who often incorporated his musical abilities into his comedic routines, creating parodies of well-known songs that enhanced his already full-bodied humorous image. But was Benny Hill more than his modest lifestyle and comedy? Watch to find out the whole story. The negative aspects of Benny Hill. In spite of his notoriety, Benny Hill was frequently a mystery, especially in regards to his private life. He was well known for his drag and humorous representations, although he was by no means homosexual. Mimicking characters such as Moira Anderson, Fanny Craddock, and even the three Beverly Sisters. But there was a deeper, more nuanced side to Hill that was hidden beneath the humor. His fear of women was among his more concerning characteristics. Hill had a great deal of comedic talent, but he struggled in personal relationships since he was extremely shy and uneasy around women. He related two experiences from his early years that he thought caused his lifelong bachelor status. In one, a girl at a fair refused to give him her candy floss, while in another, a girl on the beach refused to give him her shells. He attributed his loneliness to these encounters because they were so upsetting for him. He even acknowledged that he had followed these females home, but he maintained that he had never spoken to them, which begs the question of whether his actions were chivalrous or disturbing. Even as an adult, Hill struggled to establish intimate relationships. Despite passing the 11+ exam when he was 10 years old, he showed little enthusiasm in learning and quickly quit to work as a clerk. He also took on a variety of occupations, such as unloading trucks for Woolworths, where he harbored a covert crush on Jean, a girl working at the perfume department. Based on his experiences working as a delivery guy for Dorset Dairies, Hill created his well-known character, Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West, as a result of his life and work experiences. He went on to write a song about these adventures, which was awarded an Ivor Novello Award in 1972. Hill had a successful career, but loneliness characterized his personal existence. He frequently took solace in married women's loving demeanors, which he considered consoling because they showed him maternal warmth. Hill maintained a solitary persona, seeming happy with his bachelorhood, in contrast to other celebrities who were well known for their romantic adventures. Hill had a difficult journey to fame. He started his career by cracking jokes for a meager 5 shillings each night at local amateur shows and variety performances. His parents encouraged him to obtain a legitimate profession with a pension instead of supporting his ambitions to pursue a career in show business. Hill followed his passion in spite of their advice, putting up with hardships like sleeping in air raid shelters contaminated by rats and working at a variety of low-paying jobs to make ends meet. Hill was drafted into the Army in 1942 and remained there until 1947, a time he hated. When he returned, he funded his ambition to become a comic with his demobilization bonus. Hill faced many difficulties in his early career, such as unfavorable reviews for his performances and hecklers who made fun of his acts. Nevertheless, he persisted, finding comfort in comedy and eventually becoming a well-liked performer. In 1954, he had his final committed relationship with Doris Steele, a chorus girl at the Windmill Theatre in Soho. When he refused to accept her ultimatum to marry her, the relationship came to an end. "Being truly in love can be miserable," said Hill in 1969, looking back on his romantic experiences. "It seems almost smothering, like a real ache in the chest." Perhaps this attitude best captures the nuanced, frequently conflicting character of a guy who made millions of people happy but who found it difficult to find happiness in his own life. Health issues in transit. In the late 1980s, Benny Hill struggled with serious health issues, including his cardiac issues that affected his performance. He had a small heart attack in February 1992, but he refused to have a heart bypass even though specialists advised it. Hill showed his dedication to his work by making sporadic TV appearances despite his failing health. He tragically died in his Teddington apartment on April 20, 1992, at the age of 68. A few days later, his body was found, and coronary thrombosis was determined to be the cause of his death. 8 days later, Hill was laid to rest in Southampton's Hollybrook Cemetery. Grave robbers broke into his casket because of rumors that he was buried with jewelry and riches. However, no such goods were discovered. Benny Hill passed away too soon, yet his comedy endures and has a lasting influence on the entertainment industry, entertaining audiences all around the world. His reputation as a gifted musician and all-around performer lives on, making him an important figure in the history of television. What, then, caused the Benny Hill program to be permanently removed from the air? As we get into the specifics, stay tuned. The Benny Hill Show was televised in more than 100 countries, including the US, and was incredibly successful. For more than 20 years, the program enthralled audiences with its raucous songs, monologues, comedies, parodies, and famous chase scenes. But the program was heavily criticized, especially for how it portrayed women. Hill was accused of objectification and sexism by his detractors, claiming that his drawings violated changing social mores by reducing women to slapstick amusement or objects of desire. Hill defended his work by saying that he wanted to show the pursuing males as stupid while preserving the dignity of the female characters. However, the show's reputation was harmed by changing cultural expectations and continuous criticism. Financial challenges resulted from the withdrawal of support from advertisers. In 1989, Thames Television made the decision to discontinue the program due to dwindling viewership and growing production costs. Hill's choice to maintain strict control over the show's creative direction was another element that led to its cancellation and may have played a role in its eventual demise. The show's unfortunate demise was caused by its incapacity to adjust to shifting television landscapes and continuous disputes, notwithstanding its prior success. Benny Hill's legacy. Fans of The Benny Hill Show adore Hill's magnetic appearance and the show's unique humorous flair. The show's comic reputation was quite different from its beginnings. Benny Hill's comedic talent was immediately apparent during a brief trial of the serious format, which was originally intended to be a serious series with a tragic plot. The Benny Hill Show's extraordinary success was the result of his astute choice to switch it to pure comedy. Fred Scuttle was one of Hill's most cherished characters. A happy and unfortunate character who is always stuck in absurd situations. The show gained a distinct charm from the character's name, which was a humorous homage to Hill's dentist. Hill's dedication to producing an entertaining program was evident in his extensive involvement in all facets of production, including writing sketches, composing music, directing, and editing, in addition to his performing duties. Before switching from the BBC to ITV's Thames Television in 1969, The Benny Hill Show was broadcast in black and white. Super Teach, the first color episode, debuted on November 19, 1966, giving Hill's humor a new visual component. Hill's main medium was television, but he also made important contributions to film and music. In 1991, his last television special, Benny Hill World Tour, New York, was broadcast. It included Hill's trademark banter and encounters with gullible New Yorkers. His final American performance before his death, this special showcased his popularity and global influence. Following his passing, The Benny Hill Show flourished on a number of channels, such as Channel 4 and That's TV, bringing his comic genius back to both new and devoted viewers. Hill was acknowledged by Channel 4 in their Heroes comedy series in 1998, recognizing his influence on British humor. He gained even more recognition in 2002 when DJ Taylor named him the third greatest British comedian of the 20th century. The documentary Is Benny Hill Still Funny?, aired on Channel 4. Demonstrated his ability to bridge generational divides by comparing his comedy to contemporary programs like Little Britain. The Benny Hill Show was broadcast on That's TV over the Christmas season in 2021, signifying a comeback to national television after almost 20 years. With more than 40 hours of programming, That's TV seeks to make Hill's iconic comedy more widely known while still preserving his legacy's vibrancy and accessibility. All things considered, The Benny Hill Show's fusion of satire, musical humor, and slapstick continues to enthrall. Benny Hill's reputation as a popular character in television history is guaranteed by his enduring influence on humor. How do you feel about these specifics? Leave a comment below with your opinions. I appreciate you watching. For more stories like these, don't forget to hit the notification bell, like, and subscribe.